Hello, everybody. Lewis with Tactical Response. Joined here with Max from Max's Path,
How you
as
doing?
well as Andrew from Combat Art Training. We just got back from the Self-Reliance Festival over at SOE. This was my first time attending. It was a pretty cool event. Not all gun people, but people concerned with being able to take care of themselves. So I was able to have a lot of interesting conversations with those folks and try and give them micro doses of mindset, I'd
Yeah.
call it. Um, what did you enjoy as your favorite part of the event?
Favorite part of the event. Yeah, I think the same thing you said. There were some really interesting conversations. I had got a chance to finally get on video with Chuck Peoples and meet him in person. We had, gone back and forth, phone calls, texts, video chats, but I finally got a chance to actually get in front of him and talk to him. Had a chance to sit in his class for a little bit before getting pulled away. And then had a conversation with Toolman Tim. I'm having a conversation with Toolman Tim. Had a 3-hour conversation plus with Sonny Pazikis, which was I'm sitting and bullshitting with Sonny Pazikis. So just the opportunity to meet people that normally you wouldn't get a chance to meet, and everyone's there for the same reason. In the end, everyone's there for the same reason. That's the idea of trying to be better, trying to improve, which is what I'm all about.
Right. Yeah. All right, Andrew. How about you? What was so you were working a booth, right?
Mhm.
You were there as a vendor
Mhm.
for your nylon gear company. Is that what you consider?
Uh,
Is that a fair way to describe?
We're a training company that makes money doing nylon.
Okay, fair. Yeah. So you obviously were tied to your table for quite a bit of it, right?
Max helped me a lot though, so I was able to get out and meet
Okay.
people. So yeah, it was meeting people and actually same people that Max was talking about. Primarily, being able to meet Chuck and Sonny was really cool, and then also I know Pat from Uncensored Tactical. He's actually one of my students. Is like best friends with him, just by
Okay.
chance. And I had made gear for Pat before, so now I got to meet him in person, which was cool. Also meeting Joel with Fortress K9. Um, we have plans between Chuck Peoples and myself to make some gear for him, so that was cool to be able to get in person and talk through that. And then just the general, like all the people that are there that are interested in stuff. I gave a speech on defending the homestead.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of like taking stuff that we did in the Marine Corps and how to set up a proper defense. And I was just like trying to make it a very basic, simple thing that they could just hear the points of and be like, okay, step by step, what are we going to need to do, and how are we going to set up these different positions. If there was such a thing of like no rule of law, and we had to put dudes with guns defending the homestead. And I had a lot of people show up to that. And so that was pretty cool, and they enjoyed it. And then having people come by the booth and ask about different training classes. I know we were both doing that. And then, being able to see the mindset of different people. Because it's not so much like dudes that are in this building.
Right. Yeah. If someone comes to Camden and their destination is the Tactical Response Building, there's a certain expectation that they have of what they're looking for. It felt like at the Self-Reliance Festival, it was almost like eye-opening to some people that they may need to protect their homesteads. They're like, well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, people might want to try and come take my eggs from the chickens I raise, and it's like, oh yeah. If they're hungry, they're gonna come. Like, and you have eggs and they don't. You should probably know how to use a firearm.
Yeah.
And then 2 days prior to SRF starting, Evan Dixon, Radios Made Easy, he ran a class with basically teaching you how to use the radio, because if someone's trying to take your eggs and your chickens and probably your daughter and your wife, then you have the ability to call for help. and the idea of starting a group, showing you how to program radio, showing you how to be that guy, maybe not on Evan's level or even close to it, but
Right.
certainly on a basic proficiency level of being able to set up comms for your group. And like, if you don't have comms, you can have all the guns, you can have all the training, you can have all the stuff. If you don't have comms, you're dead. Because the reality is the idea that you're going to do all this yourself is ridiculous, which I think we've all kind of accepted. And I think that's another thing that all these people have accepted, is they can't do it on their own.
Right.
And the most amazing part for me about this, besides all the people I got to meet, is the community that John has fostered, that James fostered, that John has fostered, that is now spreading out to a whole new group of people that normally we wouldn't have access to, normally we wouldn't have exposure to. And they're getting to be included in this thing, and it's becoming that much stronger as a result. And I can't wait to see what of that spills over to TAC response and takes the training and takes it seriously, because a lot of them are definitely interested.
Yeah, one of the things that I was talking about, that it was kind of like I put it into 3 or 4 categories. It's like, what are we doing? How are we going to do it? And then the people that we want and the gear we want. Didn't talk about gear much. It was basically like, hey,
Right.
Stop having too many calibers, and make sure you can see in the dark. Have quality rifles. But anyways, the people is the biggest problem, right? Because we can't do anything without the people. And if we're talking about defending a homestead, right? How many degrees can our eyes see? If we're just looking straight, what can we really cover? If we need to look out there, and how many people is it going to take to get 360-degree security on your homestead? And guess what? They need sleep.
Yeah, got to be in shifts. I had a conversation like that with a gentleman. Asked me, he said, so I have like a group and, a bunch of people in the area, and we're probably about 50 people.
Wow.
That's a big group.
Yeah, very big group. He said, but I asked my neighbor if he wanted to be involved and what kind of preps he had. And my neighbor said, well, I don't have anything prepped. If I need anything, I'm just going to take it. And his question to me was if he was allowed to consider that a threat, and like basically, when do I get to shoot my neighbor? And I was like, well, like about that. So we're not just, he's like, so should I take that as a threat? And if he steps on my property,
You should take it as a threat.
I was like, you should be aware of that
That's
fact and be ready to defend your property.
In the least,
Yeah.
you should be aware of the fact that does pose a potential threat.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you have your gun up, pointed at the property line, waiting for him to step across it.
Yeah.
But what it does mean is that, okay, on the left is potential bad guy number 1. On the right is old lady who can't really walk to the mailbox without her oxygen. Not a threat.
Right.
To me, it kind of sounds also like with someone saying that.
Like looking for permission. He was like,
Well,
hey, if
no,
the power
no.
goes out tonight, can I go next door and smoke this fool? And I was like, no, I'm not going to say anything but no to this.
I don't really bother trying to get people who don't carry guns and don't care about it. I don't bother really talking to them and trying to bring them to my side that much, because it's like, you're not, it's going to take so much to get you to come over here, I don't do it a lot.
I remember a time when I didn't carry a gun.
Yeah, I understand that. But my point is, I've heard people say, because I go, okay, what would you do if someone broke into your house? They're like, I beat the crap out of them. Like, okay, what if it's 2 or 3 and they have, things that can hurt you worse than your dumb fists and your bat or whatever. So to me, it's the same, that dude saying, oh, I'll just take it. He's the same mindset. He just doesn't care. He's a guy he doesn't carry a gun right now.
Right.
He's never taken any training. He doesn't take his life seriously because he's not willing to go buy some buckets and bags of rice.
Right.
So to me, it's like, yeah, that could be a dangerous person, but like I kind of doubt it.
Yeah. And I had a talk at the event on the topic of women and guns and kind of getting an introductory to buying their first gun type thing. It was something that Nicole and I had discussed, and she thought that the group needed. It was very well received, I thought. I felt like a lot of people came by the booth afterwards. From the looks in the crowd when I was like, don't let the guy at the gun store sell you the Airweight 357, all right, because you can't rack the slide. There was definitely a few faces that were like, I was thinking about it because that, I was there last week. Like, wait, so I don't get that one?
No.
Like, I told him I'd think about it.
That is
And
not the lady special.
Right.
So I'm going to tell this story because it physically happened to me.
Okay.
So I was at the last gun show that I went to go to a gun show. Very last one I went to go to a gun show. I was standing at a booth, and there was a couple there, young couple, maybe early mid-20s, and there's a guy there trying to sell this girl her first gun, and it was an Airweight 357 Magnum. And I am listening to him, and like I had to say something, I had to do something. I pulled him away from, I probably looked like a madman doing it, but I pulled him away from the booth and said, listen, this is a mistake, don't do this. Like, she's going to shoot that gun once, and she is never going to shoot it again, and you are going to turn her off from any chance of being interested in firearms and self-defense, and this is going to go way bad. What you need to do is go to a range that will rent you guns and rent a basket full of them. And don't say a damn thing. Let her fire them. Give her basic instructions of safety. Let her fire them. Let her feel them. And then from there, go take a class. Because you are going to be an informed consumer.
I might argue with you on that, but let's do a different video on that. Let's bring it back to SRF.
Okay.
That's really cool that you were able to do that there. And it's the cool thing with that too is we're able to reach a new audience at SRF.
Right. And
of
I mean,
like-minded people.
I had a Glock 48 that they could come over, check out. I had the Smith & Wesson Shield. I had a Walther PDP-F, like a bunch of guns that you can fight with, right? Because another point I made to them was these people at these gun stores that are trying to tell ladies that they can't rack a slide so that they should get a revolver. Like, when you put 17 rounds into this, PDP-F, or it's a 15-round gun, let's say you get a 17-round mag, it takes the same PDP mags. So you put 15 rounds. How many times do you have to reload that revolver before you'll have to rack the slide on this gun?
Yeah.
Like, there's no merit to that argument, right? Like, first of all, being able to rack the slide is predominantly a training issue. Ladies, you can rack the slide. Trust me.
100%.
Yeah, dude. Let's do some, or at least you do some more videos on tactical response out for that. That's sweet. Yeah, I really like that it is people that like they're into preserving human life and being prepared for emergencies. So they were all awesome people. I didn't meet anyone I didn't like.
Right.
Yep. Which is an easy thing to meet people you don't like out in the world, right? But John's done a good job of attracting the right ones.
And when it comes to mindset, again, the people that come into this building, we already know, like, their mindset's kind of screwed on right. So it was a little challenging, and there were certain moments where, like, I wanted to be short with people, like, you don't understand, but at the same time, that's not going to help them.
Nope.
Right?
If anything, it's going to do the opposite.
So there was a lot of excuses going on, and like, when I asked, who's carrying a gun, raise your hand, and like a bunch of hands went up, and then I was like on your body right now, and then like a couple hands went down, and then I was like, then one extra hand went up and said, what about in your purse? And I was like, is your purse on your body right now? And she was like, no. And I was like it was a hard time to get the question answered of, are you carrying a gun?
Yeah.
So then I got simple and said, if I were to take my gun out right now and point it at one of you, like, who would be able to point a gun back at me? And so then I got like the actual number of people that had guns on them.
Like, let's make this simple.
Yeah. So like that's what carrying a gun means, because it's like they were trying to have different definitions of that.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, and I carry it loaded, but not with one,
Yeah.
like not with the magazine in it, though. Or like, well, but then what's our definition of loaded? Anyway, it was an experience to an audience that was much newer into the gun thing than we're typically used to,
Right.
or at least I am. So I thought it was pretty cool, and
you got
Yeah.
to see the other side of preparedness. Like, okay, like, so we decide to be armed. We generally carry medical with us. But I don't make food.
right,
I don't grow food. I don't know how to grow food. I don't know how to grow animals to make food. I don't know how to keep bees to get honey. I don't know how to make soap. I don't know how to, like, there's all these things. There's so many other layers to it. It's like everything else. Like, even with firearms, it's an iceberg. You
Yeah.
see the tip of it, and then you're like, oh, wow, like, that goes down far, you know?
like I think like I might have a bunch of ammo, right? And so when someone says, well, I've got 1,000 rounds stockpiled, I'm like, all right, man. But when they're like, I think of like 25 packs of rolled gauze, and I'm like, oh, I got plenty of gauze for my trauma kits.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but how much do you have stockpiled?
Mhm.
And I'm like, ooh, right? So we can
Yes.
definitely learn from each other and these groups, right? Headed same direction. Again, it might be a couple differing degrees from north, more than,
It all goes
but
the same
but
direction.
we're headed somewhere in
Yeah.
the same direction.
Right.
For sure.
All right. All right, Andrew, tell them where they can find you. Tell them where they can find Ashley, all that good stuff.
Okay. So you can find me at combatarttraining.com. Combat Arts, A-R-T, training.com. Then on YouTube, Combat Art Training. Right now we have 400 videos, and you'll love all of them. Then Instagram, TikTok, all that, we have that too. MyHealthySoap.com is where you can buy the highest quality soap in the universe. Unrefined coconut oil, organic also, organic olive oil, only using essential oils to scent them. It's healthy stuff, not a bunch of dangerous mystery chemicals like you buy at the store. And she teaches you how to make it. MyHealthySoap.com and Healthy Soap Mama on Instagram.
All right, Max, let them know where to find you.
So I have a YouTube channel, Max's Path. I'm Max's Path also on Facebook, also on Instagram, all the same. Have about 170 videos that are up, different varying degrees of things. Going to have some new interviews coming out, which I'm excited about. And he's rated as the best soap on the face of the earth.
I also use that soap. No, it really is, guys. If you're using some kind of soap that you bought at the store that comes in some squeezable form, like you're not doing what you can for your body. Like there's better stuff that you can put on your body. We need to be mindful of what we're putting in our bodies, putting on our bodies. Like the powers that be don't care about you. Like you need to take care of yourself. So check Andrew out if you're in the Florida area and want to do some training. What area of Florida are you in?
We're in Leesburg, Florida, which is an hour north of Orlando. Flights into Orlando are really cheap also.
Yeah.
And we make gear.
Yeah. So if you're in that area, want to do some training, you need some cool gear. He's kind of outside the box on some of the stuff that he's designing, so check him out. And remember, your responsibility to be ready for the fight never ends.